management, property management, anything that you guys want to know. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you're on any of those platforms, guys, please ask your questions. Anything to do with service accommodation management, anything about the service accommodation industry, and we can cover today. We've kept it very, very vague. If you are asking questions, guys, don't put your personal information or keep it like a story that's going to take 20 minutes for me to explain. Nice, sharp questions. We can give value to the audience. If it is something a little bit more in depth or personal to you guys, please forward it over to us, marketing@pillowpartners.co.uk. I'll put it down at the bottom there, marketing@pillowpartners.co.uk. You can come into the studio here, make specific videos about it, or send you a personal reply if it's super, super personal and you don't want to change the details. Just type your questions in wherever you see this. If we're watching on repeat, hello, and you don't get your questions answered here, and you want to ask something, comment underneath it or email us over and we'll put it into the next one. So Grace behind the scenes as always here, getting the questions, popping them over to me on the screen, all the technical things happening behind the camera, and Grace will start firing me the questions over. I'm just going to start on the next one. Let's see what the first one is here from Facebook. They've just announced a recession. Will this affect bookings? I think this was just last week. They announced the formal recession of going into kind of negative growth for 2 quarters, I believe. Guys, this has already happened. Whether the news announce it or not, or whether a newspaper says or the BBC, the underlying factors behind that economic descriptor has already been happening. Now, guys, if you're looking in social media, you will see people sharing all their great results. There's some people out there that are so fucking smart, everything works perfectly for them, guys. They're sharing the good results, they're not sharing the bad results. Go into any forums, you will see people struggling. There's people doing amazingly well. About hundreds and hundreds of properties. We have 100% occupancy on lots of them. Doing really, really amazingly well, and lots of them, some are average and some just aren't getting bookings. So will it affect you? Let's look at what a recession is. They say people don't get wage rises, they lose their jobs, companies don't invest, they don't invest in big projects, people don't have as much disposable income, people become cautious. So is your property of the demographic where all those things that applies to recession is going to apply to your target market? Now, if it's high-end corporates, it probably won't. Business people at the high end and doctors are probably still going to be okay. If it's contractors, will those contractors have the same budget for your property? Will they be getting the same money from these companies? Will government contracts be issued? Some would say in recessions, government stimulate spending and get these big projects. So there is a good chance that that target market will see this filter on a longer time down the way. Will it as a whole, will us being in recession affect bookings as a general? Yes. So I would definitely prepare for that. It depends on your target market. Sometimes recessions boost it. If you're in the high-end property market, will people that have lots of wealth and affluence still go on holidays? Will they take advantage of good staycation deals and book properties that would normally be fully booked, and they're probably at a more realistic price? So it depends on your target market. But guys, check the forums, see what people are thinking as a general rule. This has been happening from the end of last year in a lot of areas. Caveat, I know there's people out there doing super well. They never have anything less than 200% occupancy. They're selling courses. They'll tell you all these dreams, guys. Selling mentorships happens all the time. But again, be realistic. Is your unit exceptional? Is your unit going to get bookings? If demand is lowered by 10%, are you going to be squeezed out the market? Is your property at the top 10%? So again, depends on your target market. Is it contractors? Is it corporates? Is it holiday lets? Are you in a good area? How good is your property based on the competition out there? Finally, we'll talk about prices. We are putting stuff out to our host today, just recording it straight after this. Again, I think The staycation booming prices that went up after lockdown, many hosts are keeping their prices there. They're expecting higher prices than what the market will demand. So again, I think it depends on your prices and your property, but definitely have a look at it. See, plan ahead. We're putting stuff out to all our hosts, just we do it all the time. But guys, I would definitely consider that, yes, it will. Next one. I'm in London and get lots of credit card chargebacks. How can I avoid this? Definitely the nature of the industry, guys. If we get chargebacks, they are most likely London. One thing, we've just had a leadership meeting earlier today, and one of the things we noticed was for one cluster, an area in London, the same credit card is getting spotted for fraud. So different names, different properties, but the same credit card number. Things are getting very sophisticated. How do we avoid this? You want to use extra layers of verification. Sometimes it was nice and simple. Many years ago, you would just take a credit card, you take some ID, you need to go deeper than that. So great companies out there. Superhog, Know Your Guest is one of them. If you need details on that, let me know. Hook you up with the team will send you the links over, but you need extra verification here. Stripes holding money back. We've got a few ongoing cases where it's pretty much slam dunk in our favour, but it withholds the money for that host. We will win these disputes, but again, we've got extra layers of things here that the average host may not do. So definitely, if we're going back to the last session with the last question with recessions and you're just happy to get bookings, do not let your standards slip. But guys, you do need that extra layer of guest verification. It's no longer enough just to take credit card details and hope that they won't bounce. Some very sophisticated scammers out there, and that person says London, and very rarely happens to us in the last year anywhere else apart from London and the southeast. So they're going to target specific properties. Let's have a look. Will an agent get me more bookings than doing it myself? All depends on the agent. Any good agent, if they're a managing agent, should have higher levels of procedures and things in place to get you more bookings. If they're an agent that just does Airbnb co-hosting, for example, then they're not promising that. So be aware, difference between a kind of property management light co-host looking after your listings, and then a managing agent. Ask them, how will you get me direct bookings? Sometimes the integrations to the PMS system at higher, better levels, they're going to show more on Airbnbbooking.com. They're going to know the algorithms better. They're going to respond to the messages that pushes up. For example, had the leadership team, we were looking at our out of ours team, do we still need as many as we've got? I think we've got 14 people in our CX team. They just answer messages, one unified inbox, meaning as soon as a message comes in from anywhere in the world, they click the button and reply to it. So the algorithms on Airbnb, etc., would love Pillow just because we are there, and we have people working evenings and weekends to get back to guest messages. That's one example. So if your management company has that, or if you're going to be sitting and doing that and been really keen and getting back, so Airbnb love you, push you up the algorithms. An agent should, but they may not promise you. So a managing agent is there to manage your property and your business. Ask them, what are they doing to get direct bookings? I can only say what Pillow does, but again, teams of people all over the UK going to networking, lots of social media, lots of direct booking websites, email newsletters, links to big contractors to get contractor and corporate bookings. So many things. I won't go into what happens here, but guys, ask them what they're going to do. And if they say, well, we don't actually do that as a service, we're taking 10%, we're here to manage and help you with your customer service, then there's no promise to do that. But any good agent should make you more money than what they cost. Again, even if it's 20%, we charge 20%, we should make you more money than doing it yourself, just by the sheer amount of things that are happening. So they should, but always double check with them and ask them, is this something that they're going to do? And ask them what they're going to do. They might not give you all the secret sauce behind the scenes, but at least get an indication of what extra stuff they're doing above and beyond you, because as an agency, they should have extra resources. We've got for example, the marketing team. We've got Grace behind the scenes that does all the social media and all the social media content channels. We've got Maria doing all the ads for that Facebook and WhatsApp integrations and social media chatbots. We've got Milo, it's full-time web developer. We've got Robbie, our videographer, to make nice wee things. So all these people come together to push your properties, and that's at the expense. That marketing team is my expense, and it comes off management fees. So these 4 people, as an example, for us, are there getting you direct bookings. We're building websites, we're paying hosting, we're paying people to go to networking, being part of organizations. So ask your agent what they would do for you. How do I avoid doing personal check-ins? Great question. Again, before lockdown and COVID, people certainly did want to do personal check-ins. I don't think people want personal check-ins anymore. If you've got a high-end corporate guest that's going to go there for 6 months, definitely meet them. If you've got a property that's a party pad, you may want somebody to meet them. But again, the majority of the market, guys, just give a great customer service in advance. There's a mixture of between automation and personalization. So for us, we would be giving that guest the same experience at check-in as if we were there in person. So again, we would have our property management system would send emails out, we'd have links, we'd have videos, we'd have full guest books online. We would be giving the guests a lot of information about that property in advance of the stay. We'd be doing video walk rounds. Hi, Scott here. Welcome to Sunset Apartments. Sorry, I can't be here to welcome you in person, but let me show you around the property. So lots of ways to do that. Inform your guests you won't be there in person. If they're booking through booking.com, for example, they may have booked hotel, always booking.com, and then they haven't read anything and they expect you to be there. So definitely inform them, but give them that super guest experience, that wow factor, even though you're not there. Have double key box set up hidden, because key boxes don't work. Guests can't work key boxes. Cleaners don't return keys. So you do not want that initial experience to be tainted by, let's say, guest error, human error, something going wrong, standing in the rain. You want to make sure all these different factors make a seamless check-in process, and in some cases, a much better process as well. Should I still get into serviced accommodation, or is it a bad time? Well, we're talking about the recession. It would depend on your area. Listen, guys, I think for service accommodation management, there'll be a tough 6 months ahead for companies. I think 75% of managers or people that would be seen as managers or often managing service will exit the market. That gives you, if you want to be a management company, it's a great opportunities out there. I think 75% of management suppliers will go. I think lots of people will be passing their service accommodations units back. Terms of rent to rents will be coming up, and as there's talk of legislation as well, which will 100% be coming in. It's happening here in Scotland. So people will be exiting the markets, and they're used to high rates, used to high occupancy. If they're not getting it, then I think people will exit. And the margin between buy to let and SA, I think, was getting closer in a lot of areas. Rents have went up. Certainly seen that from our letting agency. Rents are rising massively. Basically, hosts are saying, well, I can actually just make as much money for no work. I'm happy to take less of a margin because there's much more margin there for buy to let. So always people exiting the market. That means you can enter the market. People have maybe just had enough. They're coming to fixed terms after COVID of rent to rents, etc. So I think any time's a good time to get into serviced accommodation if you know what you're doing, what's your edge, and why would you be getting the occupancy as a new operator over people that are exiting that have done it for a long time. So again, partner with somebody, get some form of edge for your property. Now, as we record this, get your unit up and running, get the high summer months. If you're doing it at the end of the summer and you're launching it in October, say, well, you may be sitting, if your target market is tourism and leisure, which is that classic summer bell curve. And again, depending on areas, I am generalizing here, guys. I know there's super smart people that say, oh, I've got 100% occupancy all year. Good for you. We're talking about the average person. So now is, because you can get your property up and running before summer. Fantastic. Don't delay. Try and get those summer bookings in at the end of the season. Might not be as good a time, but it all depends on your area. I'm worried about bookings this year. Nothing like last year. What can I do? I've seen this from the forums. Again, the team are in pretty much every regional forum and every national forum, even the classic holiday home areas. Sometimes struggling, and people with the big kind of listing sites like sites, cottages.com, even those guys are struggling as well. Although there's many people saying they're doing amazing with those companies. As a general rule, bookings are down from last year, probably because your rates are the same as last year, the same as up 2022 in post-pandemic levels. I think rates are changing. There was that staycation boom. Many owners still hoping for those high prices. I think 2024 rates are going to be new rates. They need to be redone, guys. We can't base it on historical stuff. And I think just looking at your pricing every single week, adapting it, doing special offers, doing things, making sure your property is in every possible place. Many years, people just relied on sites. People are flocking away from those companies massively just because it's one single source of bookings. And if you read the forums, guys, not my words, many people are getting advised by these companies to just slash their bookings, and many people leaving cottages.com, sites, etc. It's not a negative because some people post are doing really well, but the other side to that, some people have been told to slash their bookings and they're leaving and getting higher rates doing it themselves. Again, just big companies, blanket emails, slash bookings, get slash money, get bookings. So you can tweak it, you can make your listing better, you can upgrade your photos, you can add something else. But again, nice simple tip here rather than going into 20 minutes. Make sure your bookings are in line with the market. What should I ask potential management companies? Guys, let's here, I'll rattle through. How long have you been managing properties? Ask another question. Not how long have you been in the market, and I'll say 10 years. How long have you been a managing agent for other people? Many people manage their own units for a decade and then go into management, guys. Managing your own units is here, managing other people's units is up there. It's multiple layers of complexity on top of it, guys. Don't get roped in, oh, that person's been doing it for 10 years. Different being a managing agent. How many years have they been managing other people's properties? There's different skills involved. Very easy to manage your own unit, but when you're dealing with hosts and you've got some other third party there making decisions, it's different skills. You're going to need more staff. So how many staff do they have? If it's one person that's managing 10 properties, fine. If they're claiming to be a UK-wide property management company and super successful and the best thing on the market, how many staff do they have? Again, dig a little bit deeper. How many staff do you have that full-time in the UK? Many people saying, hi, I can manage 300 properties for clients with 3 VAs overseas. Maybe they can, but ask how many people are in the UK, who's answering the phones, who's dealing with the stuff evenings and weekends. It may be the person that owns the business. Again, I did it. It's a hard shift doing that for a year. Doing it longer, constantly being on the phone 24/7, never getting double phone calls where a guest's phoning when another guest's phoning. You need multiple levels of staff 24/7 dealing with everything. Ask to see their office is a good one. Again, there's a difference between a solid marketing company here and a solid management company. People are great at online marketing, but it's sometimes a little bit deceiving. So ask, can I see your office? Because if they're claiming to be superstars and they've got big, and you can't go to their offices because they're all remote or they work from their granny's basement, it will show flaws. Nice one is people claiming to be experts in the market. Just ask them to see their Airbnb thing, get them to screenshot it. How long have their Airbnb account been up? How many reviews do they have? And how many active properties are there? So loads of things you can ask agents, guys, but just dig a little bit deeper, do your due diligence. And I suppose, do you go for a big national one like Pillow or the other ones, or a smaller regional one that's really been in that community for a long time? So different questions to ask depends on what you're looking for and where your property is. There's some amazing property management companies out there, guys, and I'll give full kudos to our competitors. There's some amazing people in this industry, and they're really knowledgeable, they're experienced, they're ethical, and likewise what I would call marketers. There's just people they did things last year. They were into crypto, they were into rent-to-rent sourcing. Now they're doing management and they'll move away to something else. So be very, very careful. But I will say there are some amazing property management companies out there. And I say that with all due respect, they're our competitors, but credit where it is due. Some really fantastic people in this industry. Do rent-to-rents still work for serviced accommodation? And how do I tell if it's a good deal? A general rule is, answer this as a management company. If we to think back to the last 1,000 properties we've looked after, the ones that didn't work would probably be rent-to-rents over someone that owns it. Reason for this, one is there's somebody else is making a margin here. So if I owned a holiday lodge, my rent would be 600. But if somebody's doing a rent-to-rent and there's a sourcer involved, sometimes the rents get marked up. Sometimes there's sourcing fees that need to be paid, that needed to get added to the monthly cash flow. So essentially break-even points can be higher. Sometimes people doing rent-to-rents themselves will pay an extra premium to get access to that property or via an agent. So rent-to-rents do work, but you just need to make sure that there is margin there for you. We've had many, many successful rent-to-rents, but many, many unsuccessful ones. One is the margin and the break-even point. Secondly, if you owned a property, I'm going to do this for 5 years, rent my holiday lodge out. Nice, easy. But if there's a third party involved, which is somebody owns it and you're renting it, and then it goes to a management company, there is an owner at the end there that may want to break that deal. And maybe they have not made their mortgage commitments. Maybe the mortgage company's stopped them doing it. Maybe they want to move a family member in. Maybe they've seen you doing it and been successful and said, yeah, they're getting 200 quid a night. What to earn that money? I'm breaching the contract. So they definitely work. Good deals, definitely. How strong is that rent-to-rent contract? And I don't mean on paper, because guys, if they want to take their property back, they will. What's the reputation of the sourcer if they're involved? So financials are a big one here. What is the market rent? Again, I would say if you've got a rent-to-rent deal that you're committing to for 5 years and the market changes, like a recession, if you can get that deal 10% below market value, you can always give it to a local letting agent. They'll take 10% fees. You're breaking even for that give or take. If you're paying 10% above market value and then it just doesn't work and you're stuck to a 5-year contract, you need to give it to an agent. They're charging 10%. You're 20% deficit, 20% below your break-even point. So a lot of intricacies here. Rent-to-rent still work. Guys, for people that don't know what rent-to-rent is, I'm sure everybody does, you can own a property or you can own it for a period of time via leasing it. Rent-to-rent or rent-to-service accommodation, taking a buy-to-let, operating as that, giving the owner set amount, and you get to keep the margin. So it definitely still does. Guys, for good deals, how strong is that commitment? I don't mean contract, because they're worth nothing if the owner wants to take it back. If you can't pay the money, you're giving it back anyway. How is it a win-win for everybody? What is the rental income as a base level compared to what it would be as a market? Again, it can be higher. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. It can be higher as long as you have that margin as well. Have you done your research as a comparables in the area? And if you're using a sourcer, what do other people have to say about that sourcer? Are they reputable? Don't fall for fancy brochures for anything. But again, guys, you'll be able to see the good ones and the bad ones. And what I will say, similar to managing agents, there are some amazing sourcers out there. They're ethical. They make money by adding value. But there's people just sourcing deals and selling. A last point for me, we'll take a block, a random area, nothing we're involved in. Let's say a block of properties in Manchester or Birmingham. Is that rent-to-rent deal in a block where there's 40 going to hit the market at the same time? So if you've got a little holiday cottage somewhere or on the outskirts of a large town or somewhere in a city that's unique and nice and there's not many about, then that could be a good thing. But sometimes these rent-to-rent deals come big blocks of apartments, big floors, and you could have multiple ones hitting the market at the same time. And that means the market may be flooded, and it might work. The money that you would expect at that time looks right. But if there's 40, 50, 60 or 100 hitting the market at the same time, that pushes supply massively up. Same demand, prices will come down. So loads you could talk about that, but just do your due diligence, guys. But if you cannot afford property and you're looking to get into serviced accommodation, it is one route on how you can do that. My managing agent is refusing to let me leave and holding me to a contract. What can I do? Couple of ways to look at this. First, if you've signed a contract, probably they've put lots of time and effort into getting your property set up, and I don't know how far into that contract you are. So again, you've signed that. You would not like them to just take it back off you with no notice and abandon you with an SA. If it was the other way around, if you're asking for that, but they did it to you, you may be upset that they've just abandoned you. So they could have put a lot of time and effort. They could have put lots of future bookings in for you. Again, if they've just launched it now, they could have filled the summer for you. So I don't know why you want to take it back. I'm assuming it's because you're unhappy. What can I do? Guys, if you're unhappy with a contract, the managing agent would need to essentially give you it back. It's down to them. Communicate with them. Tell them why you want it back. If you believe they've done a bad job, communicate that. If they've just been arsey and they're not doing it just out of badness. And again, if you have signed a contract and you believe they haven't done a good job, then just tell them you're taking it back. Not going to get into contract law. I don't want people to break contracts based on this advice. But again, it's down to communication. No agent should force you to stay unless you've agreed that you would get it for a certain amount of time and they've put lots of work in the front end for not taking a fee, for example, for getting commissions at the end of the month. Guys, we see a lot of people doing really well, getting a contractor booking in and then want to take it back from the agent. Again, that's just not been loyal. If they've found you a long-term booking and you want to take it back to save the fees, that's probably not building a good relationship or reputation in the industry. But again, if any company, not just a managing agent, has not done a good job for you, then again, take it back. Any tips on increasing bookings? Lots here. We hold loads of things for our hosts. Like I say, recording stuff today. You definitely want to check your prices all the time. You want to make sure your property has a wow picture in all the listings. Sometimes your PMS can mix them up and it's a picture of a bathroom or the garden. You want the best picture possible so when people are scrolling, they instantly see it. You want to make sure it has some form of edge. You're setting the scene in the property. You've got all the little things behind the scenes set up right. You could have your nightly rate right. But again, guys, it could be set up that your deposit's too high or it's per person per night is set up wrong. So tweak all your different settings to make sure that it's there. Visibility in the OTAs, there's algorithms here. It punishes you if you don't get back to people, if you cancel bookings on your review scores. There's loads of different things. Again, we train the team. It's a 4-hour session on the algorithms on how we want to act as a management company to make sure our host listings get maximum visibility. We'd said earlier, we need teams of people working overnights to get back to guests inquiries as soon as possible and click buttons at a certain time. The pricing is a big one, guys. You need it visibility in as many places as possible. So make sure it's listed everywhere, all the big sites such as SweetHub. People start getting agitated, say, I don't want to pay Silverdoor money or Booking.com money. All I want is direct bookings. Guys, we look at this over a year, not just like a nightly rate. What do you want to achieve over a year? How much do you want to make? And then the stuff like the cleaning and the OTA fees and additional costs are all put into that nightly rate over a year. So lots of things we can do to increase bookings, but maximize visibility, make sure your property is right. Hey guys, maybe your property's never going to book. I know that's quite a horrible thing to say, but there's people out there, we see units all the time. Prices are far too high. They're demanding crazy prices, especially in the rent-to-rent market. I demand the same price as a 2-bed that's been established for 4 years because I've got a new 1-bed rent-to-rent deal. So we need to be realistic. What is the competition doing? And how do you compare to the competition? And how do you get in front of the right people? So make sure you're listed in lots of places. Again, a big question I can expand should you want me to. Next, what occupancy levels should I aim for? 2 answers to this. That's seen me speak about this. It is the same answer as it was before. Anybody coming to us and say, Scott, if we give you our property, what occupancy level could you get us? The answer being occupancy level is a stupid statistic to be measuring. We want to look at what the profit is at the end of the year. when you measure occupancy, I always say, guys, I'll get you 100% occupancy. I put your unit at 20 quid a night with 1 night minimum booking, you'll get 100% or near as standard occupancy. Easy to get high occupancy, guys. If you price your property low and make it a 1 night minimum, very, very easy to get high occupancy. But it's harder to get that variable right, where you're maximizing your profit at the end of the year. So occupancy is not anything that matters. If you demanded 70%, 80% occupancy, but got less money, it would make no sense. You're better at 50% occupancy and get a much higher profit at the end of the year. That said, we have variables in our business and targets, and anything flags up. Anything, I think we've rounded it up to 70, but for us, anything less than 68 flags up, and we work with the property managers and team. If you're at 95% occupancy, let's say that's super high, it sounds good, sounds impressive, but you can't get any more profit out of that. So you're nearly maximizing your money. You can't tweak any more money. It depends if the market skyrockets, for example. Whereas at 70%, if you're sitting around that, guys, then that means there's some scope to do certain things, to put premium pricing on, to do things, to do offers, and to do packages. But if you know you're at 95%, you're 100%, that's your maximum income. You know that that's the maximum you could have. But if there's a little bit of scope to make it better, if you're sitting at 100% occupancy, you're probably too cheap compared to the market. Although 100% occupancy at a good fair price that gets you your profit at the end of the year is always amazing. So loads of variables on that. Again, don't worry about occupancy. Just make sure if you're looking for your furnished holiday let and bits and bobs, you need to have it at a certain amount of nights, advertised a certain amounts of nights. Let's be definitely going to need more than the number of 105 days a year. I want to set up a management company. Any advice? We'd said earlier in the show that lots of management companies going out of business. So keep an eye on that. People will want to exit. People will exit just because of cash flow and exit dramatically. We've seen loads of those over the last couple of years, just working one day, shut the doors the next. Those clients will need serviced, so keep an eye on that. Listen for any companies in difficulty, and you'll hear it and you'll see it. Service accommodation forums, lots of gossip there, so you'll hear it in advance. Secondly, if people do want to exit, they should, and I'm going to say they will, want to exit ethically and say, listen, for whatever reason, I want to exit this business, this market. Would you take it over and service my clients and make sure that they're looked after? So opportunities there. Guys, we have partnerships and franchises. We'll not go into that, but you can join us, partner with Pillow. You can set up a property management company with Pillow. But guys, there's loads of information there. I'd always be cautious about the training and mentoring for this. Make sure you're picking somebody that has been there and done it, rather than somebody with 2 rent-to-rents that's been an agent. But lots of people jumping in to be managing agent. My advice here, remember, even if you're experienced, you've had 10 properties of your own, the difference between managing yours and other people, there's so many more procedures you're going to need. There's things like client bank accounts. You're going to need to make sure everything's in place. You're going to need team members to really service other people. So lots and lots of things here. Send me an email. There's loads of videos I've done on this. Send me an email at scott@pillowpartners.co.uk, and I'll send you links to previous ones of these where we've focused on, and lots of other YouTube videos as well. Go to the YouTube channel Pillow Partners, but I've done lots of videos on this and management companies. I'll send you those. Not selling anything, it's just information videos. So lots of resources there and on YouTube as well. That's us. Grace, many questions we've got left? 3. Cool. Nice. Do you charge your guest deposits and how much? Yes. Again, there's other things we would do for guest verification that take insurance. So there's ways around that benefit the guest and benefit hosts. But yes, one thing I would say from our point of view over the years, guests want to pay the smallest deposit, and owners want to pay the biggest deposit. They don't want to get that money taken out of the bank account. Hosts want the biggest protection possible. The amount of charge falls into the middle there, guys. Remember, I said it's all about maximum profit. So at the end of the year, what is that number? Again, our property managers always work with hosts to find that number. But if you're charging 100 quid a night, and you've got a 2-night minimum. So you're 200 quid a night, and you're charging a £500 deposit. Do you think that would be prohibitive? Do you think people would do the cart abandonment on sites that they're booking? Remember that £14.99 flight to Tenerife, and then it's like 400 quid? You're like, nope, I'm not paying it because it's misled. If you're paying a £500 fee, people from overseas, again, if you're going to let's say Afghanistan or Kazakhstan or Australia, anywhere, Japan, and you see a £500 or £1,000 deposit, they may be legit. They're legit, they're protecting their own interests, but you as a consumer going to a different country would say, I don't know if I'll ever get that back. It's not worth the risk when the one next door is charging a quarter of that. So guys, balance it up with risk. You can get insurance things where the guest pays a small amount. There's lots of ways around the deposit, but guys, I've seen the mistake made by many hosts wanting too high a deposit, and guests just don't book. So whatever you gain in security of that extra deposit, you're losing in income. And remember, the deposit is their money. You legally need to give them it back if they've not had any deductions. So that money goes into your bank account as a security and leaves. Rental income per night goes into your bank account as income and then profit. So deposit's only there to hold. If there's anything there that stops you making profit, then lower that amount. So the amount is totally up to you. Balance it up with risk. How do I avoid guests charging their EVs? I thought I would get this one because I see it in the forums all the time. People charging their cars. We've covered this in a little bit of detail. I'll go into it very briefly here. Make it a thing, make it your niche. So are your guests wanting to charge their cars? Is that your demographic? Let's say Tesla drivers or EV drivers. Is that your target demographic? Could you make more money by installing a system and allowing them to do it? If your guests are, so rather than avoiding it, and I get it, and get my electricity, the background behind this, my electricity bill is massive or going up because guests keep charging their EVs, and that was fine, but now electricity is so high, it's eating into my profit. So totally understand that's probably the thinking behind it. It's not stopping them charging their EVs, it's that it's eating into their profit, and it's annoying them that guests are doing it without their permission or against the rules. So let's flip that. How do we make that positive? Do we need to avoid it? We'll make it your edge. If none of your competitors locally are doing it, and there's little community groups and forums saying we're not going to let this, we don't want this, and we'll put notices up stopping them. If you're the only one that allows them to do it, what is the extra electricity bill you would predict for 2024? And then just incorporate that into your nightly rate. It could be £3 a night, because not everybody's going to charge their EVs. So get a little bit of paper, make a calculation. That's going to cost me £500 extra. Bang that onto your nightly rate. You can put a charge on, I suppose, but guys, just put it onto your nightly rate. It'll be negligible. You can get apps these days. I saw somebody with a new business. You can go in, they can do it, and they can pay for it in advance. So it activates if they pay via app, like Ringo, but for EV. So you could market this as it's included, work it into your prices, your nightly rate, or do an EV package. But what we're fighting towards here in eco, these things aren't going away. At some point, you'll probably be legally obliged to have EV charging points at some point. So flip it. Don't push your guest off. Try and get that edge by making it a positive. How do I get direct bookings away from Airbnb and Booking.com? Again, a question I would 100% predicted. I will answer it, but firstly, a lot of people want to do this. And the answer to get these direct bookings on any great scale for one host with one property, you could do it, but sometimes, and I see people doing this, and it's costing them thousands and thousands to do all these different things, and actually they're not making any more money than paying Booking.com and Airbnb the fees. So, but there's two reasons for this. That's still fine. You could pay more money it's called customer acquisition cost. What is your customer acquisition cost? If you're paying Airbnb 15% plus VAT, or whatever you're paying Booking.com 15% plus VAT, what's your customer acquisition cost multiplied by how many guests you get at the end of the year? For a lot of individual hosts, Booking.com, Airbnb, Expedia, all these other ones, is good enough because they can work that into their margin, and it means there's no time involved. There's no time. If you're scaling up, guys, certainly management companies like Pillow, we want to get as many direct bookings as we can. As we said, we've got the expense of a marketing team. Our break-even costs fucking 100 grand a month for 38 staff members, for websites, for all the things that we do, the subscriptions to different software platforms. So we would need to pay 100 grand a month, 38 staff members' salaries, not all to get direct bookings. Some are property managers, but they get direct bookings. But if I said the marketing team here to get direct bookings, the customer service team to phone, companies up and contact people that are on the places building stuff locally, all these things, our team are working behind the scenes. You couldn't pay that money if you were one person, even if you have 5 properties. So sometimes it is a holy grail, avoiding these platforms, getting direct bookings. And in years gone by, there's some great companies, some great cottages down south and Devon and Cornwall. They don't do any marketing. They get all this for free. So there are ways to do it for free. But I would say, guys, firstly, if it's cost prohibitive and time prohibitive for one person with one property, simplify your life. Money-wise, the second thing to that, and I get why they're asking, you get more control with your direct bookings. So perhaps if we do want to do it, we'll move on to answering. You definitely need direct booking platforms. You need social media. You need a list. You need special offers. You might need Facebook ads. You need to be going to local networking. You need to be on all the big groups. You need to be constantly letting people know about your property. You need to have a website that's SEO sorted. So if people are wanting holiday homes in Hampshire, they come to you. You need to be specializing all your keywords. Your social media needs to be nice. You need to be sharing your guest reviews, but you need to be found by people looking for you. And you need to proactively contact companies if you're looking for a contractor and executive lets. So again, it's a two-day training for our team on how to solve that question alone. Is that us? So guys, perfect timing. We've got to under 45 minutes. So any final questions here, guys? These are pretty representative. I didn't know what ones were coming up. Some people comment live, some ones that came from other places like LinkedIn that we can't see live that come up on the screen. So property management, I think how are we going to look in 2024? Challenging time for a lot of hosts, and we're already seeing hosts leaving the market. We're already seeing many managing agents exiting. It's all cyclical. We see news reports that are horrible. We think it's game over. Remember, the news is there to create a little bit of drama, to get eyeballs, to generate clicks, to sell marketing. I love the industry. I am banking everything on the service accommodation, this industry this year. We will be expanding the team. We're still growing our franchise network, our partnership, our affiliate network. So lots of people coming to join with us at Pillow. And we are putting everything into this business. We are not scaling down to take advantages of people exiting the market, helping people that would be otherwise doing it themselves are going to be looking for managing agents because they may be struggling for bookings. And again, all we do is add value, maximize income, reduce stress, or free up time for hosts. So again, I'm definitely doubling down on the market. I know some personally, the big operators out there as well have confidence in the market. So a little bit negative about bookings, and there are some many good people out there getting bookings, some great management companies, some great operators, large and small. So positive all in all for the industry. But I do wish everybody a good 2024, and I will see you next week. Cheers, everyone. Thank you.